Okay, welcome back. Review 2, test prep. This is a cumulative review for lessons 7 through 10, and again, students in my live class can use this as a test prep. Students on iTunes U can use it to get ready for the next self-assessment. Again, I'm going to move through this with ease and with speed because I'm assuming you've been through all of the notes for lessons 7 through 10. Okay, here we go. 7 plus -2 plus -2 plus 7. So with this review, we have to be really comfortable with our integers. You know, by now we've been through the notes on all the operations on integers, and we are ready. Okay, so when you think about negative, I want you to think about loss and positive gain. Think about money. So if I have 7 and I lose 2, and then, adding a negative, that's just like a loss. So I'm going to lose another 2, and then I'm going to gain 7. So I'm just going to write here, lose, lose, gain. Might be easier to think that way. All right. So again, adding a negative, 7 plus -2, means the same thing as 7 minus 2. Okay, so if I have $7 and I lose 2, I'm at 5, and I lose another 2, I'm at 3, and then I gain 7, so I'm at 10. So if it helps you, just note to self, think of money. And think about loss and gain. Okay, now with this next one, it's a little more ornate, with all the brackets and everything. So I'm actually going to rewrite the problem. It's order of operations, but we have signed numbers. So I'm going to rewrite the problem. Okay. So we know now that order of operations tells us to go inside these innermost parentheses first and then work from there. So -6 plus 4 is -2. And then I'm going to force myself to record everything. And that's the big thing. You have to force yourself to record everything. Okay? Now inside here, multiplication dominates. So 4 times -2 is -8. And again, forcing myself to record everything. Now 2 plus -8 means the same thing as 2 minus 8. So it's 2 and then you lose 8. Well, then you're in the hole. Think of money, right? Then you're in the hole 6. Now we're at the tail end of the problem. These two are connected by multiplication. So -4 times -6 makes positive 24 plus 14. So voila, we're arriving at 38. Okay, so really just getting that habit of writing out step by step for your order of ops. Okay, we're going to move along with some speed, like I said, to number 3 now, because we're assuming that you're comfortable with your signs and you've been through all the guided notes. Almost pretending as if we're taking a test together. That's what I want you to think. So, wouldn't that be nice? Again, order of ops, if it helps you, you can write, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally up here, just to help you remember. You have to go inside these innermost parentheses first and then work outward. So inside, out. Okay. So -7 plus 8 is 1. And then forcing myself to record every little thing. Now multiplication dominates, so 8 times 1 is 8. And then recording. And then 5 still inside those brackets, which are like parentheses, cleaning in there first. So 5 plus 8, 13. And then you have to ask yourself, how is 8 connected with 13? By multiplication. So you want to take care of this multiplication. If you have to, go off on the margin. Never mess up your thoughts. So go off on the margin and take 13 times 8. 104, but it's going to be negative, right? Because a negative times a positive is a negative. So negative 104 plus 15. When you arrive there, think about money. If you're in the whole 104 and somebody gives you 15, you're going to be a little better off, but you're going to have to find the difference, and the difference between 104 and 15. Which is 89, but we know it's going to be negative because the bigger number is negative. So again, order of ops problems, they take a lot of practice. You just got to keep doing them over and over again. That's why there's so many on this test prep review. This one has your absolute value bars, so absolute value of 8 plus 4, and then eventually times 3 cubed. Now recall that in terms of level of dominance, you want to take care of your bars or grouping symbols first. So 8 plus 4 is 12. But 12, absolute value of 12 is still 12, so it remains positive. So let me just kind of bracket that off. So then we have 12 times, we can take care of 3 cubed. We know that's 27. So 12 times 27, and that will lead us to the final answer. Now, you may have to go off on the margin and figure out what 12 times 27 is, which is 324. But like I said, when I talk about going off on the margin, you can always go off out here on the margin somewhere and figure out what 27 times 12 is. Okay? I'm just going to write here margin. Okay? Now let's scoot down to the next problem. Lots of order of ops here. We just got to get so good at that with signed numbers, right? So negative 13 minus 38, and then divided by 17 minus 23. So we take care of in here first. If you have a loss, again, think of negative as loss. If you have a loss of 13 and another loss of 38, you're going to be in the hole. Think about money. And you might even, if you need to, go off on the side and say, okay, well, I'm just going to add 38, like sign, so I'm going to add 38 and 13 to get 51, but know that it's a loss of 51. And then eventually divided by 17 minus 23. Negative 51 divided by 17, you have a negative divided by a positive, so it's going to be a negative. So, but you might have to, again, go off on the side and take 17, into 51. And you say, okay, well, maybe about 3 times. 3 times 7, 21, carry the 2. Yep, goes perfectly 3 times. So in the end, we have negative 3 minus 23. Well, that's a loss of 3 with another loss of 20. So it's like lose 3, lose 23. So it's an overall loss of 26. And again, for me, I like to just read both of those as losses for an overall loss of 26. Hope that helps. Oops, I had a lot of smudges in there. I want to fix that up. So even if it helps you lose. If you lose $3 and you lose another $23, you're in the hole 26, right? Okay, let's head to the next one. Now for this one, I'm going to rewrite it, 7 plus 3, parenthesis, negative 3. Know that these two are connected by multiplication. And that dominates addition. Must be done first. You don't go left to right. It's not going to work. You got to take care of this first. So 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Positive times a negative is a negative. So you have 7 plus negative 9. Well, that really means like 7 minus 9 or 7 lose 9. So you'd be in the hole 2. Again, I'm thinking of money. If I've got $7 and then I lose 9, I'm in the hole 2. Okay, now this we talked about in our notes as the not rule, like the double negative, the negation of 9. So when you say -7 minus -9 like that, the double negative becomes the positive. So I would rewrite it as -7 plus 9, and then -7 plus 9 is obviously 2. Okay, let's head to the next one. Here you have a negative times a negative, which is clearly a positive, 40. Now that's a tiny itty-bitty problem, but again, we're doing this without a calculator, so we have to know that a negative times a negative is a positive. We just have to, become strong before we go into future levels of math. So with this next one, we have a word problem. A lady receives a statement on her charge account that she spent $91 last month, and I'm just going to write that, spent 91, but she returned a $15 top, and then later she returned a $24 shirt. So how much does she actually owe? So, well, let's just kind of map it out. So her returns were the 24 and the 15. So she had $39 in returns. So she doesn't really owe 91 anymore. She owes 91 less 39. Another way of saying that is 91 minus 39. Which is 52. So with a word problem, you just really have to map it out and think, okay, sorry about the movement on that, if she returned these, then she doesn't owe that money anymore, and we can deduct, big note to self, deduct the 39. Okay, let's try the next one. Again, with the not rule or the double negative rule, if you have a 654 minus -13, that really means 654 plus 13. Okay, and that will lead us to 667. This next one is an evaluation, which means plug and chug. So you have 3x plus y, but we're going to take 2 and plug it in for x. And when you plug, I like to put parentheses. And we're going to take -37 and plug it in for y and crunch that out. So that 3 times 2 is 6 plus -37. And again, think about money. If you have 6 and you lose 37, you're going to be in the hole. So another way you can say that is just take your 37 minus your 6, which is 31, but you know you're going to be in the hole 31. So 6 adding a negative 37, just know that that means the same thing as 6 minus 37, which is -31. All right, and let's try 12 here together, which is -z squared. But big note to self, when you're putting that input in there, when you have input, make sure you put it in parentheses so you can take it in phases. Okay, so now -3 squared means -3 times -3, which is +9. But then guess what? You have this negative floating out front, which is just going to send you back to -9. So after all that, you do end up with -9. So again, -3 squared, this part here comes to be 9, but you have this negative out front. Okay, for 13, we have -4 plus -9. No, that means -4 minus 9 or lose 9. Well, if I lose 4 and I lose another 9, boy, I'm in the hole, right? 13. Okay, and we've seen this word before, average. We now know that means add up all the observations, whatever they may be. Here they're negative. So add up all the observations. I'm going to chunk those off there. adding a negative, and divide by however many there are, which is 4. So I'll let you take care of the numerator. I do want to say, since all of these numbers are negative, just add all the numbers in their pure form and then know that it's negative. So let's just take 11 plus 28 plus 16 plus 17, and we have a 72, but it's an overall loss of 72 over 4. And then we can perform that division. We can take 4 into 72. We know it's 18, but it's a negative divided by a positive, so we know the final answer is going to be negative 18. Okay, so again, because all of these numbers were negative, they're all losses, so we can just add their absolute values and arrive at 72. Know that it's negative 72 divided by 4, and voila. Okay, for 15, again, we have evaluation. I'm going to plug 7 in for x. I'm going to plug negative 13 in for y. Notice I put parentheses. And I'm going to arrive at 27. Okay, this one's fairly simple. I'm just trying to get you to say that a negative divided by a positive is a negative. You can just do it in your head. 40 divided by 10 is 4, but the answer must be negative 4, because a negative divided by a positive is a negative. For 17, we'll more plug and chug. I have to plug negative 1 in for x, so I'm going to make sure I have parentheses around my input, especially when wheeling and dealing with negative numbers. Negative 1 squared, written like that, shall be positive 1, and 1 minus 5, or 1 lose 5, is negative 4. Okay, moving on to the next one. This one is a little bit order of ops. We have 7 times negative 8, and then minus 13. Again, that double negative rule, which means plus 13. This gets taken care of first, so negative 56 plus 13. And then they're different signs, so if you wanted to do it by hand, you could go off on the side and take 56 minus 13. And the answer takes the sign of the larger number, so you know it's actually going to be negative 43. And again, if you think about money, it'll help. If you're in debt 56 and you gain 13 in your bank account, you're better off, but you're in the hole 43. Okay, here we have some absolute values, so we're going to take care of our absolute value first. The difference between 36 and 54 is 18, but 36 minus 54, you're thinking is negative 18, but it's in bars. It's in those absolute value bars. So absolute value of negative 18 is 18, and then divided by 2 will send us to 9. And life wouldn't be complete without a gigantic PEMDAS here at the end. And this will be our last one. I'm just kind of re-recording the problem just so I can write it a little bit bigger. And sometimes helps you understand it. So let's go inside here first and clean. Multiplication dominates, so 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. Here, we can read this as negative 3 times negative 5, which is positive 15. Keep that inside the brackets and keep everything else. Now negative 16 plus 15 makes negative 1. And then when you arrive down here at the end, take care of multiplication first. So I would just go off on the side and say, okay, what's 13 times 8? 104, but it's got to be negative 104, right? Positive times a negative is a negative. And then in the end, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And 104 divided by 1 is itself So you're going to arrive at 104. All right, hope that helps for review 2. These are longer podcasts just because it's a cumulative review, but I hope that you're able to find what you're looking for in terms of guided solutions to all those problems. And good luck.